It's such a pleasure to see all of you this beautiful day. My name is Ivana, and I wanted to show you what I've been working on these past 3 weeks at the Renzulli summer camp. Do I just click there?
No, just click
You talk, please.
on. Yeah, right there.
Okay. Axolotl, water dog, Mexican salamander, Ambistroma mexicana. Among other names, the axolotl is an amphibian with an average size of up to 12 inches and an average weight of up to 8 ounces. This unique critter has a lifespan of 10 to 15 years, unlike most individuals of the animal kingdom. The typical appearance, contrary to popular belief of the iconic pink skin and coral gills, is actually a black and brown spotted body. Axolotls are mainly located in Mexico City, which just happens to be where the Xochimilco Lake is located. Even though they don't live anywhere else in the wild, there are hundreds of captive counterparts across the world, for many reasons, mainly scientific research and or as pets in some households. Yes, axolotls are adorable, and we all know it, but there is much more to their capability than meets the eye. Two of the main abilities that the axolotl has is neoteny and their outstanding healing ability. Neoteny, in basic terms, is retaining juvenile features at an adult age. For the axolotl, this means that it will not leave the water when it's fully grown or sexually mature, as most other amphibians do. For this reason, the axolotls keep their branch-like gills, which are located at the sides of the head, and are actually one of the more iconic parts of its body. However, axolotls do grow lungs in case if the living conditions are force them to live on land. As mentioned prior to this slide, axolotls have an exemplary healing ability. Most of the body parts and organs the axolotl owns can be regenerated quickly and efficiently, as shown in this picture, which is basically the process of it regenerating an arm. The axolotl can even heal essential organs, including the heart, lungs, brain, and even parts of the spine. Axolotls are surprisingly incredible creatures. So then why am I talking about them? Don't I want to fix an actual problem in the world? Well, axolotls are beautiful and unique creatures that could change the world someday. However, they could disappear from the face of the earth soon if we don't take action. I will now show you why this is the case. Some of the main factors that are decreasing the numbers of the salamander are BD the chytrid fungus, both carp and tilapia fish, and the water pollution in the Xochimilco Lake. BD is a type of chytrid fungus which attacks vertebrate amphibians, unlike most chytrid fungus do. For this reason, many amphibians, including axolotls and other salamanders, usually die, and this is because BD attacks the keratin layers, or the outside. Sufficient nutrients to live. In a failed business attempt, with thousands of carp and tilapia suddenly released into the Xochimilco Lake, this eventually made many problems arise. One of the main things is that they started competing with axolotls for food because axolotls were actually the top predator of the chain in the environments before they came. Then what they started doing is they started eating the axolotl eggs, so then axolotls couldn't reproduce. And because they couldn't reproduce, the fish started outnumbering the axolotl, meaning that they would always get all the food, and then axolotls would also be deprived from food besides nutrients. In a 22 million people city, there is potential for lots of waste and destruction, and so it takes place right in the Xochimilco Lake. Sewage is released there most of the time, and it doesn't seem a big problem unless you think of it as a large scale, because 22 million people releasing their sewage in one lake actually decreases the water quality by a lot, and that really affects many of the fauna living in the lake. And besides that, people throw their trash in the lake, so animals can eat it and they choke on it and they die. And because of that, adding on to that, axolotls also lived in another lake, which was Lake Chalco, but due to some unknown reasons, they decided to drain it, which means, and they did not relocate the animals, meaning thousands and hundreds of animals died, and many of them were axolotls. In fact, these main factors, among other smaller factors, have done so much harm to their population that in this graph we can see how it is. We can see this is the number of axolotls per square kilometer, and this is the time. We can see in 1998 there were about 6,000 axolotls per square kilometer. It's a fairly good number. They were living, they were flourishing, they were doing really well. And in only 14 years, we came to the astonishing 1 axolotl per square kilometer. Only 1. And, well, that is a big number. Why aren't we proud? We're humanizing the area. We're winning against the axolotls, but honestly, that is really bad, because the ICUN Red List, for example, before at the beginning of the graph, we were at about vulnerable. I mean, they weren't that big of a concern, but they were there. And then now we're not even a step away from being completely extinct in the wild. And we wipe them off the wild. Many things like these we could never solve. This would mean that saving loved ones who were victims of amputation, severe burnings, cancer, many of these diseases. If scientists aren't given enough time to research how axolotls can regenerate limbs, regenerate skin, if we don't have the time to do that, then we may never learn how to do that and save our loved ones. Adding on, they could be the secret of youth as well. Because of neoteny, they look like teenagers their whole life, and this could help humans have a larger lifespan as well. If this changed your mind, great. It's time to save them, but what can we do to save them? Well, there are many things, but mainly we can help axolotls by cleaning our own trash, especially the ones of others, if there's too much of it. Maybe if you go to Mexico City someday, try to eat cardboard tilapia, just eat fish, mainly to balance the whole food chain out in the area. And if you ever want to have an axolotl, please don't try to get a fisherman to catch one from the wild. There are hundreds, as I said, hundreds of counterparts across the world, and what I want is we don't want them to get extinct on the wild, so it'd be better to buy them somewhere else. Thank you for listening. You guys have any questions?